All right. So, this is the first time in a long time I've done a NFL prediction video. But now it seems like as good a time as any. I'm going to start doing my season predictions. Every single team will have one. I will have a full record and one bold prediction for every single team. So let's hop into it, starting with Chicago Bears. Bears were okay last year. They weren't anything great, but they weren't very bad. They were very subpar.
It's not his first time onto the field, but still getting his feet wet in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, Jim,
I do feel like the Bears are still a subpar, below average type team.
So it's going to be fun to see how he does here today.
So I think first things first, this is a team that will go 7-9. I had them 9-7 for a while, had them in 8-8. I changed up a couple things. I think 7-9 is really a pretty solid prediction for the Bears. They're not good enough to compete in division, but they are good enough to win close games. And although their defense may not be great, it can compete. So, first, let's talk about their in-division record. I have them going 2-4 within the NFC North. I have them taking a win against Detroit in Chicago and an upset victory over Minnesota. Minnesota game, just because they're in Chicago, I think they'll catch at least one extra division win. I don't think they beat Green Bay this year. They came close last year, but I don't think they're good enough to.
And after only 3 plays, that incompletion
So,
brings us to 4th down.
I guess we'll just start with who I have them beating. Philadelphia. I think Philly has an issue at quarterback. I don't think their defense is going to be very good. I think Philly is going to be in the bottom 10 teams in the league this year. Detroit, already mentioned it. Again, Detroit lost Calvin. I think that's going to be a big issue for this team, for that team. Although I think Detroit will be good, not great. I think they'll be around the Bears kind of deal where they're subpar at best.
Has one of the strongest arms in the league.
I think Jay Cutler's foot movement, the fact that he is so mobile,
Next,
just gets
Minnesota.
lost with a lot of people. They just keep talking about, well, we don't like his body language. Who cares about that?
Right before their bye week.
Ball at the 47.
So, again, I think they'll take the W in Minnesota.
The Eagles come out in a dime package. Locked in on the football and has
Or not in Minnesota, in
with 2
Chicago.
hands.
Sorry, I'm tired. I just woke up.
Jeffries, one of the best
But
route runners in the NFL, and he
I
showed
think
it that time
Minnesota,
on the quick slant.
although
The football is right on target.
I believe they
Nice,
are
solid game,
a
just
top
short of
10
the
team in the
first down.
NFL right now, I think Chicago
The Bears
will take a
have it
win
at
in
39.
Chicago and upset style.
Langford's tackled down after a gain of
Then,
10.
after that, a 4-game winning streak, including Tampa Bay. I think that Chicago's receivers, offensive backs, I'm dumb. I think Chicago's receivers will be a bit too much for.
Intercepted.
I think Chicago's receivers will be a bit too much for the Tampa Bay secondary. Kevin White and Alshon Jeffrey are going to overpower them.
Defense. They just read the quarterback's eyes. They got in position.
Next,
and they made the
Giants.
The Eagles offense
Kind of the
comes
same
back
thing.
onto
I don't
field.
think the
Let's see if
Giants'
they can move the
defense
chains
is
this
that
time
great. I
because
know they spent a
the
lot of
last
money on it,
possession was ugly.
but
They
I
weren't
still
out
think
there
they're going to
very
have some growing pains. And I think, if anything, that team turns it on at the end of the season once they all start to mesh together.
That really catches the defense off guard, so you can get
Next,
an
Tennessee.
easy gain
Although
and get the
Tennessee
momentum on your
helped
side
out
and
their
get it
team a
rolling.
lot, free agency and the draft, I do think that Tennessee is still one of the bottom 10 teams in the NFL.
First down and 10.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were a top 5 pick, like a team that's picking in the top 5 again.
That's his first reception today.
And last, their last win of the season, San Francisco.
Arm strength is a nice thing to have.
I mean, they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Their defense is a mess. Their offense isn't that great. It's nothing to write home about. The same thing with Tennessee. I think San Francisco, they didn't do much to help themselves, but they didn't do much to make me think that they are good enough.
Is a steady presence back there.
He is a steady
So
presence, Jim.
that
You know,
means
he's good at everything.
that's their 7th win. That will be their last win of the season.
Defender, and I think most of all,
So
just a
again,
leader
I have
for
them
the
taking
defensive
losses
back.
to Houston. I think Houston's going to be a top 5 team this year.
Well, I guess the quarterback thought the coverage
Dallas,
was a little too
same
tight,
thing. I think
so he
Dallas
just
will
threw the
finally
football
bounce back
completely away from the receiver that time.
with a solid running game led by Alfred Morris and Ezekiel Elliott.
In the backfield.
Indianapolis, I think Indianapolis is also just a better overall team.
Pass is intercepted. And a touchback.
Jacksonville,
here.
I have Jacksonville competing for a playoff spot this year. I think they're extremely talented.
In position, they read the quarterback's eyes.
Green Bay, I
and
am
it led
taking
to an
both
interception.
losses to Green Bay.
Bears, and I have to wonder, where are they going to be mentally after
So,
that
I
last
mean,
drive when they were moving the football only to give it away
damn.
on an interception?
Oh,
How are they gonna be out
shit.
there on this
I know, I
possession?
caught
I
that.
think it's tough.
But
I really do, Jim. You know,
I'm taking
nowadays,
both losses to
quarterbacks,
Green
it
Bay.
seems
Green
like
Bay is a
all
much
we
better
judge
team
them
than
on,
Chicago
they
right
throw
now.
interceptions or
Although
not.
I don't think
And
they're
once you
blowouts,
throw
I think
one,
they're
it's
close
out there.
games.
You've got to get over that mental block.
Again,
and you've gotta
Chicago's
keep
just
playing
not
hard and
a
press the
contending
football.
team as
That's
of right
the only
now.
way you can have success.
Oh.
Murray takes down the quarterback.
So entering their bye week, Chicago will be 3-5.
Well, every defense is looking for somebody to sack the
And
quarterback.
they
that time, the
come out of the
speed
bye
the
week with
defensive
4
end
straight
gets
wins,
around the
followed
tackle
by
and
4
gets the
straight
sack.
losses.
Second down.
To Detroit. It's in Detroit. I think that
The Eagles
although Chicago
defense now
takes the
loading
first
up,
victory,
expecting pass with a dime defense.
I do believe that
Miller's got it.
Detroit does have a lot of weapons offensively. I've never seen that camera angle before. I'm actually kind of surprised.
It doesn't matter. They're so big and they got long arms. They can still make the catch.
But
Quarterbacks give them a chance.
again,
They
I
get
think
it done.
Detroit will be an okay team. I don't think they'll be
That
good
long
or
gain
great
sets
even.
them up here on this play.
There'll be something.
Cutler's on the move. Incomplete.
What is that camera angle? Why do you keep
Cutler's
going back
mobility,
to it?
boy, gives them a chance to make a play, doesn't it, when you force him
Again,
out of the
Green
pocket,
Bay,
but not able to
Washington.
complete the pass because nobody's open.
I think Washington might, although Washington
Eagles
was a
with a
good team
nickel
last
look
year,
here
I
on
don't think they're going to
defense.
compete for their division.
Second
I'll get
and
to that
10.
towards the end of these videos.
Looking across the middle.
Third long situations, a lot of coordinators
When I
in
talk
this
about the
league
Redskins.
will run a draw play on
So,
third long. Why?
I do
Because
think
they're just
Washington
looking
will
for
take this
field
win.
position,
And
pick
last,
up a few
Minnesota.
yards, and then by some
Minnesota
miracle, if the
trying to
running
lock up a
back's able
playoff
to
spot will
make
take a
guys
win
miss,
against
break some tackles, and pick up a
Chicago.
first down. Man, that's just gravy.
Jay Cutler
So,
from the shotgun.
just overall, I think Chicago will be a
Intercepted.
solid team. They will end up being, I believe,
I'll
I
tell you
have
what,
them
it
as
hasn't
third
taken
place
too
in their
long for both of
division.
these defenses to assert themselves. This already has the look of a game
could
that's
try
going to
and
wind
find
up
out
being won in
my-
the trenches.
my
Well, we
overall
found out
rankings.
talking to both of these teams during the
Really
week, they're
quick.
sick of all this offense in the NFL. Man, they wanted to come out and make a statement, and both teams have done that so far.
Yeah, I have Chicago tied with Detroit for last place.
The Bears will
So-
have to punt.
Maybe I'm, reaching a little bit, but I do think Chicago is a good team. Again, I don't think they're competing
A punt
for,
just
playoff
like it was
spot.
drawn up, and now the defense has them back
So,
into the corner. The Eagles offense.
I guess I can go with a couple
reignite
bold
things now
predictions.
after last time, moving
starting
the
with
football only to throw
the
a
quarterback. I think
drive-ending
Jay Cutler will have a
interception.
bounce
This is
back
what this
season.
defense
Jay
lives
Cutler
on. They
will make the
fight
Pro
hard. They
Bowl
let you move the football
and
a
will
little bit,
throw
but they wait for that
3
mistake.
times as
That
many
mistake
touchdowns as
gonna be an offensive
interceptions.
penalty,
I say
a
he
drop
throws
pass. That
33
time it was an
touchdowns to
interception, so
11
hey,
interceptions.
that's what this defense
Maybe
does, and they
even
do it
less.
well. Good job by the defense.
I think Cutler finally has some weapons that he can rely on, like when he had Brandon Marshall and his team was a contender back in 2010, 2011. So I think Cutler will have a good season and make the Pro Bowl as an alternate, not as a starting guy.
Halftime, 2 minutes away.
Next, running back. I think that Jeremy Langford will have a breakout season, rushing for 1,000 yards and over 10 touchdowns with less than 3 fumbles.
Well, a lot of times these defenders, I'll give them a little
and also, Jordan Howard will share snaps, and he will show that he really does deserve to be in the conversation to be the starting quarterback.
Makes the grab.
Or running back. I think it's a quarterback. Wide receiver. It wouldn't be bold if I just said Alshon Jeffrey's going to have another great season coming off injury. So I will say that Kevin White is going to have a better statistical season than Alshon Jeffrey. I believe that Kevin White will have more receiving yards, more touchdowns, and more catches than Alshon Jeffrey this season.
So right into the hurry-up offense they go, into this 2-minute situation.
Yeah, these guys, all these pros, they've been doing this stuff since they were in high school, running the 2-minute offense.
To the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line, I say that Leonard Floyd will probably play hand in the dirt defensive end, assuming he does. I say Leonard Floyd has a great season as a rookie. And Leonard Floyd has a great rookie season. He ends up having 10 sacks.
What a terrible job by the defense that time.
And is in contention for the defensive rookie of the year.
Down the field, and hey, nice job by the quarterback going through his progression. He finds the open guy and gets a touchdown pass.
Linebackers, Danny Trevathan, I think, is the linebacker. Let me check. They got from Denver. La-di-da-di-da. Yeah, Danny Trevathan. Danny Trevathan shows that he doesn't need to have a great defensive line in front of him like the Broncos to show that he's a top-flight inside backer. He ends up being one of the best insides in the game this season, recording 100 tackles, 5 sacks, and 2 interceptions.
The kicker just couldn't keep it in bounds there.
And lastly, the defensive backs. I say Kyle Fuller has a bounce-back season after a down season. He's going to end up with 5 interceptions, 1 of which returned for a touchdown, and a whole mess of pass breakups.
To complete that one, so second down here.
So overall, Chicago will be a solid team. I don't think there'll be much else than solid.
Well, but there's under 2 minutes to go. Good job by the offensive ball carrier that time. He knows he can get no more yards. He steps out of bounds.
That's all I really have to say about this at this point. There's not much else to talk about.
At the line of scrimmage with their set of receivers in a bunch formation.
I did plan on doing these earlier, and I was going to talk about the draft classes, but I feel like it's kind of lost at this point. So, unfortunate.
The defense
Dude, Bobby Massey, you're not even pulling. How do you hold?
Third down after the penalty.
But coming up next will be the Bengals. So, will the Bengals have another, top flight season? We will see. Is Jeremy Langford going to be an absolute beast? Yes, he is.
Good job that time by the ball carrier, picking up what he can.
That's really it for this.
Smart, gets out of bounds and stop the clock.
I mean, I don't think there's anything I missed.
That was a big gainer. Now it's time to back it up. with it. The Bears
All right.
signal for a timeout.
Sorry,
They
I'm
have
getting
2
lost in the game.
remaining.
You end up having to watch this whole thing that you probably don't care about. But for now, this is J-Wax.
That timeout might be very useful
Signing
for the
off.
offense. They're now ready to go.